Hello and welcome back to the Touch on Sport podcast. As always, I am your host, Buster Tutcher, and today we're going to have a run through of Week 2's slate of games for the NFL 2023 season. I'm excited, you're excited, let's get into the games. We are coming off the back of an amazing Week 1. We had our breakdown of all the games and our review earlier in the week. Today, it's all about Week 2, baby. And what a game to start us off. Thursday night football, Minnesota at Philadelphia. It's going to be a great game. We got stars on both teams. It's going to be great. Okay, we got Kirk Cousins. Willie won't he primetime Kirk. We know what he's like. He has moments when he just doesn't shine in prime time. But the Vikings, coming off that tough loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're going to need something. They're going to need to get their season going. How will Kirk do in primetime this time? He's had highs, he's had lots of lows in primetime games. It'll be interesting to see how he goes on Thursday night. And it'll be interesting to see whether that Vikings offense can roll and take it to that Philly D that we know is stacked. We know that defensive line is stacked. Can Minnesota's offensive line give Kirk Cousins enough time to get the ball to his receivers? And by that, of course, we primarily mean Justin Jefferson, JJ. He had a great opening game to the season. 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards. Huge day for him. We know that offense is going to go through Justin Jefferson. Can their offensive line hold up enough against Philly's defensive line to give Kirk enough time to get him the ball? On the other side, Eagles, they got off to a hot start. They were right on it from the first quarter against New England. Then slowed down. Offense had a couple little hiccups. They let New England almost come back into that game. They held on for the win. Will be interesting to see how their receivers go against Minnesota, because I think, for me personally, this is going to be a game where Jalen Hurts can get the ball over the top to A.J. Brown, to Devontae Smith, but more I think this is going to be an A.J. Brown kind of game. Over the top, challenge that Minnesota defense, push the ball down the field. We know they can run the ball. We know they got the offensive line for it. I think this is going to be a bit of a, let's push the ball again. Let's get that air passing attack going for Jalen Hurts. And for me, I think they've got enough. I think they're going to be able to get that ball moving. They're going to have the offensive firepower. I don't think Minnesota are just going to sit down and be limp. I think Kirk Cousins is going to show up tonight. I think it's going to be a good game for them. But I think Philly's going to have enough to win this game. Possibly by a couple scores as well. All right, let's move on. Sunday slate now. It's going to be a packed Sunday slate as always. We'll go through the early games first, then we'll move on to the later kickoffs. But starting off our early kickoff slate, Chicago Bears going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bears, man, they could not get that passing game going. They've got to improve that passing attack. Justin Fields has got to start showing that he can be a quarterback in this league that's not just about running the ball. He's got to show that he can throw the football. Okay, I don't think Tampa Bay's defense is as good as the Green Bay one we saw last week up against the Chicago Bears offense, but this is make or break year for Justin Fields, and I think he's got to start getting it right soon. All right, we know they've got picks in the top of, they're going to have picks. They've got multiple first rounders next year coming. Something tells me, Justin Fields, you got to start pushing that ball down the field. You got to get it to your receivers. Whereas Tampa, they're coming off a surprise win. Baker Mayfield, he did enough. Yeah, they weren't like lights out amazing, but they were able to take advantage of opportunities that Minnesota gave them. You know, I mean, they've got firepower in the receiving core. Baker Mayfield just has to be accurate, get the ball to the playmakers. He doesn't have to. We know he's going to take shots. We know he's Baker Mayfield. He's going to back himself, right? I think that passing game, those receivers, I think they can take advantage of this Bears defense. So for me, it's not going to be the most interesting game of the weekend. I think we can all agree on that. but I think Tampa have enough to come through, beat the Bears, and get to 2-0. Moving on, we have Seattle at Detroit, and Seattle Seahawks, oh my goodness. They were not expecting that Rams team to run them over. That was a big surprise in week 1, but another big surprise was the Lions winning in Kansas City on Thursday night to open the season. They got that close win. They went in there. Not many people were expecting them to do anything. They got the win. Huge result for Detroit. Seattle, they need a bounce back game. They're going to the Lions. And I want to see how their offensive line can cope with that Lions defensive front, because it's stacked. I think TJ Hawkinson, he's starting to turn into a legit pass rusher. And he's not their only option on there. They've got a few more guys who can get after the quarterback. I think that's going to be the big question for the Seahawks. You know, we've just seen they've signed they've signed Marcus Peters. He's 41 years old. See how he goes. You know, on that offensive line against a strong Detroit D-line. But the question for the Lions is, there's going to be raised expectations now. You know, they went into Kansas City as underdogs. Now the eyes of the world are going to be on them. Everyone now knows that they are a legit team. They can win games. How are they going to cope with that expectation? I expect Dan Campbell to get his players right and ready for this game. I think they'll be fine. I don't think they're going to blow the doors off Seattle, though. I think this is going to be a close game. I think Pete Carroll's going to have his guys bouncing back. But I think Dan Campbell can do enough with his team to keep them level, keep them going. And I have the Lions winning. But I think it'll be close. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means. I think it's going to be a really close game. Okay. Divisional matchups. Here we go. Baltimore Ravens at Cincinnati Bengals. Well, what can we say about these two teams from last week? The Ravens, they beat the Texans. That defense, they didn't let that young, inexperienced, fresh Texans offense get anything going. They didn't let them score touchdowns. They held them to field goals. They were strong against them. I think it's going to be a different question coming up against Joe Burrow, who came off not a great start to the season against the Browns for the Bengals. I mean, that was tough. I think Joe Burrow is going to have a bit of a bounce back. I still don't think he's going to be 100% Joe Burrow, Magic Man. You know, Joe Cool out there running around, moving around and manipulating the pocket and making plays. But I think he's going to be another step forward. And against a Ravens team that's already being hit by the injury bug, you know, we said it going into the season, how are they going to do when they're a team full of guys who get injured? They're already starting to be affected by that. They've lost J.K. Dobbins, their running back. Ronnie Staley, their left tackle, he's a bit affected by injury. Their centre is a bit affected by an injury already. And the passing game was okay, but we need to see more from Lamar. For me, I'm picking the Bengals to pick up this win, get the season going. I think Joe Burrow's going to have a bit of a bounce back. I think he's going to be that next step better. I think the Bengals have enough to get past the Ravens at home. Okay. Another divisional matchup. The Indianapolis Colts at the Houston Texans. Well, just spoke about it. Texans couldn't get anything going on offense last week. A huge learning experience for their young quarterback, for their rookie head coach, for the whole team. Indy, they had some stuff going on offense. Anthony Richardson looked raw, like we expected, but he got some stuff going. You know, they were able to move the ball. They scored some points on Jacksonville. But they both lost. They, you know, both guys had up and down days. They had moments, they had some plays, but I think, though, the story of this game is going to be the Houston defense. I think they actually, against Baltimore, held them quite well. We said about how Baltimore couldn't get their passing game going quite how they probably would have wanted to. And I think Houston can stand up again in this game and they can cause some problems for Anthony Richardson and that Colts offense. So I've got Houston winning this game. I think it's going to be low scoring. I think there's going to be mistakes on both teams. But that's what we expect. They're rookie quarterbacks, they're young teams. It's not going to be a perfect game. We'll see how it goes. but I think Houston's going to win. Okay, now next game it's an interesting game for me. This one, Green Bay and Atlanta, and you know we both guys, they're coming off wins, they're coming off divisional wins. Both teams, you know, Green Bay beat Chicago, Atlanta beat Carolina, and I think for both of these teams this year is all about their running attacks. You know, I mean, Jordan Love and Desmond Ridder, they're growing into their roles as starting quarterbacks. So I think neither has the experience to be able to say, I'm going to carry this team. Both these teams are about running the football. And the question is, can their defenses stop them? Stop the other team from doing it? For me, I think Atlanta's going to be able to run on Green Bay. And I think Green Bay might struggle against a better defense than they faced from the Bears. I think Atlanta have a better defense. It's underrated. I think there's some talent in that Atlanta defense, and I think they are a bit underrated by myself as well. So I think Jordan Love's going to struggle a little bit more this week than he did last week. He played okay. I think Atlanta are going to challenge him to do a bit more, because I think they're going to be more competitive in this game. But I think the Falcons' running game, I'd like to see a little bit more from their passing game, but I think their running game, they've got two monsters at running back. It's not just about Bijan. I like that. I like that two-headed monster at running back attack. I like Atlanta to win this game. Then, big game, all about quarterbacks. Jacksonville Jaguars hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs coming off that week 1 loss to Detroit. I think Mahomes is going to be out to make a statement. Coming off that, it's his first time ever losing in week 1. All right. I think he's going to be looking to make a statement here. And I think that's bad news for a fine Jacksonville defense, but I think there's weaknesses in that defense that Mahomes is going to look to take advantage of. I'm excited to see him go out and play some serious football. On the other side of the ball for Kansas City, they got Chris Jones to sign a contract. He is back. I don't think he's going to be on a full go. I think there's going to be a little bit of a pitch count because he's missed all of training camp, and I think they'll have to ease him back in. But he's back. He's a huge piece for that defensive line. And I think he's going to allow, his presence will allow all their other players to take another step up. And I think this defense is going to be improved, which for Trevor Lawrence and that Jacksonville offense, they look good. It's going to be harder this week. I think, obviously, Kansas City's defense is a step... Well, Indianapolis' defense is decent, and I think Kansas City's is a similar level, maybe a touch behind. But with the returning Chris Jones, I think Kansas City can take that step up again, and I think it'll be interesting to see how the Jags' offense rolls against Kansas City. I like what I saw out of Calvin Ridley. He was huge for them, came up with a couple touchdowns, over 100 yards, played really well. The question for me is Jacksonville's defense against the Chiefs, and I think that's where this game is going to be won and lost, and I think it's going to be lost for Jacksonville. Or won for Kansas City, really, by their offense. So I have the Chiefs winning. I think Mahomes is going to be on a mission to win this game, and I don't think Jacksonville can stop him. Okay, next game is the Vegas Raiders going to the Buffalo Bills. Well, I think the Raiders are going to be on a high. Coming off that divisional win against the Broncos, they're going to be feeling themselves a little bit. The Bills, coming off a short week, but that overtime loss to the Jets, oh my goodness, what a game. The emotional roller coaster of that game, and Aaron Rodgers going down after 4 offensive snaps for the Jets, then them to come back and beat the Bills in overtime. Josh Allen did not have his best game. I think he was affected by what was going on. I think that Jets defense is legit, and I think that the defense for the Jets is what caused Allen's problems turning the ball over. I mean, 3 picks and a fumble did not look good. I think the Bills have to get their season going at home against the Raiders, who are going to be feeling themselves a little bit. I can see Josh Allen having a big game, getting a lot of passing yards, getting some touchdowns. This Bills offense starts cooking. I think the Bills win this one big. I think the Raiders are going to be feeling themselves a bit after that divisional win. And I think the Bills are going to just be a bit motivated for this one after coming off a loss, overtime loss. Last early kickoff game for us is the LA Chargers going to the Tennessee Titans. The Chargers, they were in a shootout, man. It was a high-scoring game against Miami, but they lost it at home because of their coaching decisions. For me, they weren't able to, at end of the game, Miami were able to defensively make some changes, adapt to what LA were doing, and get some stops. LA weren't able to do that to Miami. And that's why Miami kept scoring, and that's why Miami won. The Chargers head coach is their defensive guy. Their head coach has to be able to make those adaptations in the game to help his team and help his offense, who are putting up points, give them a chance. The Titans, they lost to the Saints. It was a close game. Ryan Tannehill did not look great. But we know what this coaching staff is like. We know what Mike Vrabel is like. He keeps that team in games. They play good football. They run the ball. They play defense hard. I think Tennessee's going to get something going. I think they're going to be improvement. They're going to be... Vrabel is not going to be happy with his team losing last week. And he's going to get them back and get them playing good football at home. This is a coaching mismatch. And for me, because of that coaching mismatch, I have the Titans beating the Chargers. We shall see. I know the QB talent is all stacked. Herbert over Tannehill, but coaching matters in the NFL. Variable for me is just leagues above. Brandon Staley is not in the same level. So for me, that means the Titans win. Okay, we will move on to the late kickoffs now, and we are going to start off by talking about the New York Giants at the Arizona Cardinals. And, the Giants got blown out by Dallas. And the Arizona Cardinals lost to the Washington Commanders. Neither of these teams are going to be feeling good after week one. Okay, Arizona might be feeling better of the two because they played a bit better than we kind of were expecting them to. But both guys coming off losses. For the Giants, Dallas owns them. They have, 11 of the last 12 times they've played, they've beaten them in a divisional matchup. That is crazy. That's crazy. They own the Giants to the Cowboys, and maybe not to the extent of 40-0, but the Giants didn't help themselves. Dallas had a defensive touchdown. They had a special teams touchdown. I think they're going to have to get... I think in this game, the Giants go back to what they want to do. They run the ball with Saquon. They were behind early. They had to start throwing the ball with Daniel Jones, and this team is set up to run the ball and then, kind of pass off of the run, not the other way around. So, for me, against Arizona's defense that couldn't really stop Washington, who I'm not a huge fan of their offense, I think the Giants can run the ball on Arizona, and I think they will run the ball on Arizona. And because of that, they're going to get their offense going, and I don't think the Cardinals' offense is going to be able to keep up against the Giants' defense that is going to play better. It was a mismatch. And I think the Giants' defense will be improved this week and will be improved enough for the Giants to get the win over Arizona. Next up, divisional matchup, 49ers, San Francisco 49ers coming off that blowout win over the Steelers where they started like a house on fire, got up 20-0 before Steelers had even put up, 3 yards of offense? Against the LA Rams, who come off a surprise win over the Seattle Seahawks. Just guys from nowhere, guys we didn't know about, just putting up plays, putting up numbers. it'd be interesting to see how both these teams look in week 2. I think the Niners, they rocked the Steelers early. And it'll be interesting to see how they go against a Los Angeles Rams team that played well on offense and has some confidence coming in. And Matt Stafford looks like he's playing well. It'll be interesting to see how they go against that. This Niners defense goes against that Rams offense that has the veteran quarterback, that knows what it wants to do. They've got a good, solid offensive line. I think it's going to be a good matchup between that defense and that Niners defense and Rams offense. It's going to be a good matchup, a good fight. And then how is this relatively young LA Rams defense, highlighted obviously by Aaron Donald, who we know is going to target the right-hand side of that Niners offensive line that got attacked by TJ Watt. How are they going to cope with the Niners offense? Because we know the talent that the Niners have. We know the options they have. Can Brock Purdy back up that solid outing from week 1? Be interesting to see. I think they can. I think they've got enough talent. This Niners roster is stacked with so much talent, and because of that, I think the Niners win. But I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think there's a blowout on the cards here at all. These guys know each other. All right, the Niners own the Rams, but they're always close games. Like, it's 8 of 9. 8 of the last 9, the Niners won. But they're close games. These are never blowouts. So I think it'll be a really close game. I think it'll be a really good game. Be interesting, we'll see. Next up, Washington Commanders at the Denver Broncos. Both coming off close games. The Commanders obviously getting the win over the Arizona Cardinals. The Broncos suffering that loss to Vegas. The key for the Commanders last time out was they could run the ball and set up what they wanted to off that. And their defense held up well enough and was solid. That was their keys. They played defense and they ran the ball. Will they be able to run the ball on Denver? For me, I think it'll be a lot harder. I know Denver got run on a little bit, but I like this Denver defense to play better against the run this week. You know, we know they've got good players on that defense, and I think they're going to step up this week. On the other side, Denver started the first half, they played quite well on offense. Second half, nothing. She couldn't get anything going. And I think Sean Payton is going to challenge that offense, that his side of the ball. That's going to hurt him. He's not going to be happy with that. And I think he's going to challenge them and he's going to push them and he's going to push Russell Wilson, to get something going and get this offense rolling. Because of Sean Payton and because they're at home, I think the Broncos win this game. But I just have a sneaky feeling it's going to be really close. Late on, this game is going to be close, I think. But I think the Broncos win. Right, let's move on. It's Sunday night football time and it's the Miami Dolphins going to the New England Patriots. We had 2 different games last week for these 2 teams. The Dolphins, they want to shoot out because they made adaptations late on defense and could get that stop on the Chargers. With that offense is legit. Tyreek Hill's speed, Tua's accuracy, there's creativity from their head coach, Mike McDaniel. That offense is legit. It'd be interesting to see how they go against a New England team that conceded some points early, but got a couple turnovers. We know New England have a strong defense. They always do under Bill Belichick. They lost close at home to Philly. All right, they got behind early, but they got back into the game. Mac Jones played okay, got some touchdowns, got some stuff going. What I want to see is them get that running game going to support Mac Jones. Because obviously they got behind early, they had to pass the ball last week. If they can stay in the game early, get the running game going, not rely too much on Mac Jones' arm, if their defense can disrupt this Miami offense, I don't think they're going to stop them. I think the speed that they've got in Hill and Waddle and most of the running back as well, I think they can if they can disrupt Miami, have a couple punts, not score on every drive early, if that defense can keep them in the game and they can start running the ball, that's how New England gets this win, and I think they will. I think Bill Belichick, scheme-wise, will keep them in this game, and then late, I think New England wins. And that will wrap up Sunday. We'll move on to Monday Night Football. We will have an extra look at these two. There's 2 Monday Night Football games this week, and we'll have an extra look at them on Monday when we have our recap of Sunday. But as a brief overlook, we got the Saints going to the Carolina Panthers. New Orleans Saints at Panthers is a divisional game. They're both divisional games, actually, on Monday Night Football this week. Saints coming off that close win over the Tennessee Titans. They're going to be well happy with that. That's a great start to the year. Carolina, they came off that loss to our Atlanta where they just got run on. They couldn't get stuff going offensively. They had a couple moments here and there, but they just couldn't get going. Saints D looked good. All right, Tannehill didn't look good. But was that the Saints D? Was that Tannehill? I think it was a bit of both. I think it was Tannehill not playing great, but also this Saints defense has players, and they are legit players. And I think that they're going to be a strong defense. Derek Carr, he's strong. He wins games. He's a solid quarterback. He's not going to make mistakes. He's not going to, he's not going to try anything stupid. He's a veteran QB. All I'm looking for now is them to finish their drives off, get some more points on the board, because that was their issue. They couldn't finish drives off, and I think they can against this Panthers defense. Offensively for the Panthers, it was a learning experience. It was a tough debut for Bryce Young. 2 interceptions. You know as a rookie you're going to have tough games. The NFL is just that step up. What I think Carolina are going to be looking for is just those baby steps forwards now. Learn from the week 1. Just look to get something going. Can he start to make those small improvements that gradually will help him in the big picture? I think New Orleans wins this game, but all I'm looking for really is those baby steps from Bryce Young to start getting some stuff going. Then our final game of the week is the Cleveland Browns going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Big contrast for week 1 for these guys. The Browns had the blowout win over the Bengals. They completely shut them down in the second half. They dominated Joe Burrow. Whereas the Steelers, they got blown out early. San Fran kind of eased off, and it wasn't a complete blowout, but they got one scoring drive on the day. The Browns, they were all about running the ball. That's what they want to do. But this week, I think they're going to have to do a little bit more passing. I want to see Deshaun Watson get some more completions, look a little bit more comfortable throwing the ball. We know they're going to be able to run the ball well. They've got Nick Chubb. That's what he does. He's going to just run on you, no matter who you are. The Steelers, they pride themselves on defense. They let up some serious yardage. I know Christian McCaffrey is a great running back. I picked him for Offensive Player of the Year. He's a great running back. They're going to have to try to stymie, or try to shut down, but I think it's going to be more stymie Nick Chubb and that Browns running game, and put the ball and the burden on Deshaun Watson's shoulders and see what he can do. Then, as far as offensively, Kenny Pickett picked off twice. This Browns defense is legit as well. They've got a serious D-line. They got some legit corners as well. So this is a good defense. This is going to be another tough game for Kenny Pickett. Just looking for him to take a step forward, start to look a little bit better, start a little bit more settled. But I think the Browns are going to have enough to beat this Steelers team. And man, they're looking good. I'm impressed from their early season, from week 1, and I think it's going to be a nice solid start to the season for them. Okay, that is all of our games wrapped up for the week 2 slate. It'll be interesting to see how they go. I want to see how my picks go, of course. We will be back on Monday for our roundup and our review of the weekend slate of Thursday Night Football tonight, and then all of Sunday's games. We'll have a further look ahead to Monday Night Football. But thank you very much for joining me for this breakdown of the week 2 slate, and I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you see you next time. Thank you very much, and goodbye.